Hello, my name is Kate, and I'm a menstrual and menopause mentor, and I use medicine circles. I'm a retreat facilitator at Womankind, and I've been a therapist for more than a quarter of a century. I write on menopause and women's well-being for well-known publications and blogs, and I'm in second string, which means postmenopause, and I have a deep gratitude for the education that the menopause process has gifted me.
And I am Tania Elfersy, and I'm the founder of thewiserwoman.com, and I'm a transformative coach, award-winning author, and educator and speaker. And my passion is all things menopause and perimenopause. I'm 50, still menstruating, but definitely seeing changes. And I came to this work having at the age of 43, I experienced my first perimenopause symptoms, and knew nothing about what was going on, and that brought me into this work and a lot of research, and I ended up being able to witness all my symptoms disappear and start sharing with women what I had seen. So I do that through my blogging and my coaching and speaking. And it's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Yeah, wow, what an incredible story. And today we're here to share the top three things that menopause has taught us.
Yes.
But I'm really excited to hear what yours are. It's like show and tell, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's such a great, can you imagine if this was a thing in society where people would show and say, oh, the three most amazing things I've learned in menopause are, right? It's just,
yeah, well, let's hold that intention, Tania, and we'll get the ball rolling.
Yes.
Should I go first?
Go on.
Okay.
What's your top one?
So, Tania, the first thing that menopause has taught me, and I am so grateful for this, is the magic of rest, because magic stuff happens when you rest. So when I was first coming into feeling menopause manifestations, I had two businesses. I had two businesses, and I ran a networking group for the local birthing community, and I had two primary school age kids and a partner in full-time work who was, very kind of stressed and in his work, and all the other stuff, family and friends and stuff, and I didn't rest. Every moment of the day I squeezed another blog post in, or I squeezed another bit of social media and squeezed another bit of admin, and my adrenals just said no, and I effectively stopped sleeping. I was unable to sleep, and I was in a state of sort of really chronic stress from the years of parenting. So that was at the time, that was sort of a good sort of 12 years worth of chronic stress. And I was training with Alexandra Pope at Red School, and I was lucky enough to have a medicine circle with her. And the intention that came out of that was she very gently suggested I took 15 minutes rest a day. And I went, oh, yes, yes, yes. And in my head, I was going, no, 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 I can't take 15 minutes out of my day. The world will fall on my head, So clearly I wasn't exactly in touch with reality. But nevertheless, my higher self, my better self, knew that stuff had to shift, and I started to take these 15 minutes a day. I mean, just a tiny amount, really. And this was kind of a gateway for me, because once I started making small changes, the bigger changes followed. So once I started to take rest, then I could think better, and then my discernment kicked in, and then the rest started to grow and the change started to happen. So this transformation that I've experienced with menopause started to happen because of that 15 minutes, I reckon. And what I see in retrospect is that the desire to push through tiredness is just not sustainable. And because menopause is a sensitive time, that's when it shows up as not working anymore. You know, I could kind of power through in my 30s and in my 40s, but I wasn't able to, sort of from mid 40s onwards. The imbalance in my life started to show up. And it ignited a sort of love story with myself, this rest, these periods of rest, which seems like nothing much really, or inconsequential, but it ignited a love story because it started to create space, and because I started to put myself and my needs first and make them important. So it looks superficial, but it was just such a profound shift. And someone the other day introduced me to the Pareto principle. I'm sure you're familiar with that. It's that 80% of the effects come from 20% of the work.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so, you know, in all that rushing around wasn't generating any forward motion. It was all based out of fear. It was all based out of stress or anxiety that I wasn't good enough, that that my business would fall apart, that I wouldn't be able to be present for my kids, or just generalized anxiety about I can't let go.
Right.
And just resting made the difference. So the magic of rest looks like a small thing, effect is massive, and that's my number one.
Wow. And that just flows in really nicely to my number one lesson that I've learned.
Cool.
We haven't coordinated this. We were going to surprise each other with our lessons. And my number one lesson is that the body is brilliant. And so when you sharing your story of how you just needed to rest and how your body was sending all kinds of messages to you to encourage you to create space and rest. You know, we in the West, we have a tendency to think, oh, my body's falling apart. You know, that means, why can't I push through anymore? Why can't I, get things done? Why am I feeling so stressed? And actually, everything that we're feeling and experiencing is the wisdom of the body coming through, and gently, and then not so gently if we don't listen, encouraging us to make a shift, which in your case was just start making space for rest. And I went through so many decades of my life just really not being aware of the wisdom of my body whatsoever. And I've spoken to other women too. They were like, oh, I came into midlife and I realized I had a body. And so it was almost like that. But I have 3 children and I have had 3 natural births. And I remember, moments in pregnancies and certainly breastfeeding my children where I'm like, this is the most amazing, miraculous thing. Like, how does this all happen? And so getting glimpses there, but really not appreciating that there is a wisdom in our body that we are born with and that never ever leaves us. And we come into midlife change, we come into our 40s and things start to change, and when we start experiencing, whether it's night sweats or frequent migraines or skin problems or anxiety or depression or panic attacks, we, like I said, in the West, we take that to mean that there's something wrong with the body, when actually it's just the body being brilliant. It's the body using whatever it can at this sensitive time in midlife to wake us up. And it's just a game changer seeing that everything that we can think is a malfunctioning or us being broken or us falling apart is not that at all. but it's the brilliance and the wisdom of the body bubbling to the surface. And that's what menopause, perimenopause, and menopause allows us to see, because we enter this sensitive time, and so it's like the wisdom bubbles up quicker and it becomes louder, and then it gets to a point where we can't ignore it anymore, and we can try and turn down the volume by medicating ourselves, and sometimes there's a space for that, just when the volume is too loud. But then we're not going to learn about the wisdom in the body that is designed to guide us and guide us always. And I think learning that lesson, that the body is brilliant, will protect us for decades to come, and that's what it's designed to do. So it's always there. We just were able to, and I certainly was able to, live for decades with just ignoring it, and thinking, yeah, this is the body, and it's mine, but nothing too much more profound than, yeah, sure, I've got a body. So that's really, like I said, I've seen that to be such a game changer. Just an understanding that there's a wisdom in us always.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love what you're saying. Can you give an example maybe of when either you or one of your clients has made that shift between having a problem to seeing an opportunity? Is that when they have, I don't know, sweat, what do they call, hot flushes or something?
Yeah. I mean, I can share something that happened to me this year when I was in a situation where my work was being attacked, and in a certain forum that was supposed to be a very big feminist forum, actually, and things got quite nasty, and then my work was censored, and never mind exactly all the details, but there were days I don't experience the perimenopause symptoms I used to experience, but there are times when I do get very caught up in what's going on around me, and then something will appear. So I was taking everything that was going on online very, very personally, and getting very upset by it, and that's fine, being human. But I really didn't know what to do, and a lot of crying and everything like that, and my night sweats came back. And I know what that means now. So, I know that women can get night sweats, and they're like, another night of night sweats, and what am I going to do? And I'm never going to sleep, and how am I going to cope tomorrow? And then we stay awake for, hours until somehow we get back into sleep. But I was just like, oh, this is fascinating. Oh, I know what's going on. This is just my body telling me right now I'm off balance, and I need to just drop it, and I need to return back to my default of well-being and calm. But I don't know when that's going to happen, because I didn't know what to do. So the night sweats went on for like 3 nights, and it didn't freak me out at all, because I welcomed them as this message. This is where you are, and the body's saying, just you're going to need to shift. You need to go back to your well-being, and no judgment, right? The body's not coming at me. Yeah. Now, naughty Tania, what have you done? No, it's just like reminder. And I know what's going on. I knew what was going on. So I could just say, oh, yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember. And then after 3 days, I was like, oh, I know what my next step is going to be. And that's it. Yeah. I could just let it all go. It didn't matter. It didn't matter what people thought of my work, that they were getting nasty with me. It didn't matter. That's their reality. It's not about my work. So then the night sweats disappeared. So I'm not saying every woman's body is going to work like that, but I have seen that it really does work like that, not only for my body, but for women that I work with. And, when we understand and we don't come at the symptoms with this, oh my God, I'm falling apart. Oh my God, I'm going to have to medicate myself. Oh my God, I'm never going to be able to cope. And just like, oh, yeah, what could this mean? Like, what does my body want me to know?
Mm.
It makes such a difference.
Mm.
And your body really works with you and loves you.
Yeah.
And seeing that is just life-changing. And you've seen that, right? You saw
Oh,
that.
absolutely. Yeah.
You listened to your body and you worked out, what could I do? Like, what could I do? And when you hear, oh, sleep, and even though you've got, no, can't do that, can't do, like, when you relax into it and it appeared, well, maybe this is the obvious thing to do. Your body, like, that was the shift, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, which brings me to number 2 rather beautifully. Wow, you'd have think we had scripted this perfectly, wouldn't you? Thank you so much, Tania. The second amazing thing that menopause has taught me is discernment. And this kind of comes out of the rest, the taking rest, because when I was very stressed and over busy and pushing myself and really on everything, I had no, my cortisol was so high, I had no room to feel into my body and be discerning. Because for me, discernment comes from more of a intuition and body felt sense than a logic figuring it out. I mean, ask my partner about logic. That is not my forte. But knowing what is right with an absolute grounded certainty is. And one of the and this is going to sound hard, and it's going to be hard for some people to hear, I think, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's just such a game changer. So menopause, in a way, is the end of one part of your life and the beginning of another. It's the process of waking up. So you spoke about how you discovered you had a body, right? And that's because you're in, we come into the world to say, okay, now I'm engaging with my purpose, with my calling, whatever that is, with having fun, with changing the world, whatever that is. And one of the things that happens is that we become aware of our mortality. So I'm 53, my mum died at 67. So I'm intending to live longer than that. I'm not intending to sort of at 67, that's not my plan. I'm doing lots of yoga and I'm eating, all the right stuff. However, it brings discernment. So, okay, so I have probably less time on the planet that I have already lived. So what am I going to do? Now, there's this quote from Annie Dillard, the American author: how we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives. And so I always have really clear intention. So for a long time, it was to be spacious in my life, starting with that 15-minute rest, and that accumulated in taking a 6-month menopause gap sabbatical. And now it's about reconnecting with love. So, and this intention guides me through my day. And does this connect me with love? And that goes through everything. I mean, really everything, from the washing up to, picking up the kids' crap off the floor, and there are some things that I can't avoid doing in my life, or it would be difficult to avoid doing in my life, but I do get to choose how I do them, and that is where this discernment comes. So I can say no to social engagements that involve a lot of chit chat and a lot of lack of connection, and I would just automatically say no to those because they don't connect me with love. But when I have to pick up the kids' crap because it's annoying me, I can do it. I can choose how I do it. I can do it in an angry, annoying, you're wasting my time when I'd rather be doing something else kind of way, or I can do it with love for myself. I can feel gratitude for the fact that my body will bend and my knees will bend and my back is strong and my core is strong. I can feel gratitude that my children are able to be careless and carefree, you know. So it's this discernment about having choice, and that comes from knowing that I am fragile, you know, that I am a human fragile person in a body that is 53, and from knowing that I will die one day, and that is just such a gift. And actually, my other intention, which I have to share with you for ages, is it fun? Is this fun? No, not doing it. You know, it doesn't have to be this, you know, this massive calling. You know, it's like, is this fun? Well, what are you going to do with your life? So that discernment, the quality of discernment, and I wasn't like that for most of my life. I was sort of, oh, well, I'm not sure, and oh, should I be doing this? Or oh, you know, I was very dithery and kind of wibbly wobbly. So it's not my nature, but that's such a gift from menopause.
Yeah, great. Absolutely. And so I'm going to talk about my point number 3 for number 2, because it's calling me now after what you've just said. And that is this idea of we just don't care what other people think anymore. And I came across this as a real design of us. Is this design feature. At the beginning of my work on menopause, I interviewed a lot of women about their experiences in their 40s and 50s, and no matter where the woman was in terms of how burdened she felt by symptoms, etc., there was some point in the conversation where she would say, but you know what, I just don't care anymore what anyone else thinks. And it just became like, I just remember like looking over my notes and going, this is just a thing. This is just it. And beginning to see that myself, it's just, wow, it just doesn't matter. All those thoughts that we thought that we need to do this and be on this path, and we need to do this and be on this path. And it's really that sense of, I don't want to use the rude word, the F word, but it's that sense of just not giving.
Well, if you don't, I will.
Not giving a fuck about what anyone in society is going to think of us, and connecting to the joy that's within us. And that just becomes so apparent, and has become so apparent for me of, I can just take those stories that I used to carry with me and just put them down, because it just doesn't matter. And what matters is what lights me up. And like I said, because I saw that so often in women, I just think it's part of the design. And research has shown that, when we are connected to our passions, and we have sort of plans that light us up, and we get joy from the daily things that we do, no matter what they are, that's good for our health. So it seems, because it's in our interest to live long, happy, healthy lives, but it's also in the species' interest that we go on living long, happy, healthy lives, because we are here to contribute, would contribute to future generations as what I'd like to call the wiser woman. We have to actually step into that wiser woman role so that we can sit on our throne, if you like, and be in that position, which is not where we were in our 20s and 30s. It's a very different role to play. And whether we're going to play it out as grandmothers, or the crone, or the aunt, the great aunt, or whatever it's going to be, or just the wiser woman showing up wherever she shows up in life, like that is a role that we're supposed to play. And so what makes us healthy is this sense of, I'm just not going to listen to what anyone else thinks about me anymore. And I'm just not going to listen to those stories that are running through my head. And I'm just going to connect with joy and not give a fuck. And that is a really beautiful lesson that you've picked up. And lots of women are picking it up. And it appears, like I said, to be part of our design.
Yeah, it's absolutely a thing. And it actually has a name. Somebody suggested we trademark it. It's called fuckness, not give a fuckness.
But
And
what's really, it is, and what's really interesting is if you look at famous women in history, well, those women who, you know, throughout history, they didn't give a fuck about what society thought about them because they were flying a plane or, you know, climbing mountains or inventing things. And it's so interesting that these famous women in history often lived long lives and didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And just did what they wanted to do.
Mm. Yeah, because they, exactly as you say, they were connected with their passion and their joy. Yeah. And menopause delivers that for us. You know, if we haven't got it already, if you're in the slow school like me, then it, you know, it just delivers you into that place of joy.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's that the body, you know, is tied to that because it is part of the design, that the body will just keep pushing until we connect and say, oh yeah, now's the time that I'm just going to do that, which is what I've wanted to do for years.
So the third thing that menopause has taught me is that it's taught me to trust myself and trust the universe and finally relax. Yay! Yeah, and the various and many ways that this has come about, there are so many streams that this has delivered that have brought this into fruition. But one of the ways is that because I was resting and because my outside was so clear, the outside of my life was so clearly not functioning very well, I was forced to look inside again. And so this is more of that rebalancing that you were talking about, that I had to look at the inside of my life. And this came with my slightly addicted use of yoga nidra, which is it's like, my teachers will be furious if I say this, but it is meditation light. It's a bit like being a toddler and being tucked up with a really cozy blanket and someone tells you a story and kind of strokes your face a little bit. And it's a beautiful process of very carefully orchestrated steps that take you into a very, very deep meditative state where you know it's all right. And I think that this, on my ongoing use of yoga nidra, has been really key to learning to trust myself, because the answers just come. It's just a phenomenal practice, and there are. It's not. It's free. It's not something you have to pay for. There's loads online. I have free ones. There are free ones on YouTube and whatever. It's very accessible and it doesn't cost you anything, and it's available to everyone, and it's just phenomenal. So certainly yoga nidra. And I think that because I'm struggling to express this, because it's integrated, and there are so many things, this kind of listening carefully to my body, and the kindness, being kind to my body, and listening to my harsh critical voices and being kind to them. And you know, there are so many things in there, and having learned from menopause process, because menopause wants us to learn, she wants us to evolve, she wants us to transform, you know, she delivers us into this state of joy. It's taught me that when I get out of my way, and a little before we were talking about going underneath the ego, you know, if I can get underneath my ego and let go of what I think that I should be, and let go of that, then things come through me. So I'm struggling to express this one, because it's a spiritual process, and I have a bit of, oh God, don't talk about spiritual stuff on YouTube. Oh no, it's too much. But I'm going to say it is a spiritual process, because and it's delivered me to a place where I can, not always, I mean, I mess up, you know, every day, all the time, but I can get out of my own way and get my giant ego out of the way and allow things to come through me without pushing and without trying very hard. And it's pleasurable. I feel a bit teary, actually. And it's just magic. But I specifically feel that that is a process of menopause that comes with balancing my inner life with my outer life, with things like yoga nidra. And yeah, I go to therapy and do other stuff too, but it's more where I put my attention and a mindful attention on being kind. Yeah, so I could stop trying to control everything and just let go.
And again, the wisdom in you helps you get there.
Yeah.
By showing you, wow, this calmness, this is the gift, right?
Yeah.
When you move through that spiritual journey.
So today, for example, I slept really badly last night, and I was like, oh no, I have to go to Tania and be professional and act like I know something, and oh God, how am I going to do that? And I could feel all this sort of anxiety and fear bubbling up, and all the critical voices, and you know, imposter syndrome and all that kind of stuff. And you know, I just caught myself and can apply the kindness, you know, like, it's okay, you know, it's okay. And then my cortisol drops and I can just be, okay, I did drink a cup of coffee very fast.
Just as an insurance policy.
Which helped. But it, you know, it was the process of catching those really harsh, angry, critical voices and just choosing to soothe myself and choosing to, you know, well, you've done this before and it's okay. You know, yeah, so applying kindness.
Which of course leads into my now number 3. That was going to be number 2, and I knew that it should be number 3. And my third lesson is really focusing around the thoughts that come into our head, and understanding that just because a thought comes into our head, we don't have to believe it. And in fact, we are guided as to whether we need to give that thought any attention or not. Because if a thought comes in and is aligned with love, we'll feel that love, and we'll feel the clarity, and we'll feel the calmness, which is like the thought, I'm going to be okay. It's fine, right, that you were having this morning. And when a thought comes in and makes us feel like something is closing, that there's a tightness, there's an anxiousness that it brings with it, we just need to remember that it's a thought. So just because it comes into our head, it doesn't mean it's true. Thoughts come, thoughts go, and we can't control them. We can't put barriers about certain kind of thoughts that we don't want to come into our head. We all have crazy thoughts that come into our head. We all have the thoughts that come in nagging, judging, telling us we're not enough. We all have them. But when we remember their thoughts, we can change our relationship with them. And that, seeing that, was what enabled me to witness all my symptoms just disappear. The physical ones, the emotional ones, they just disappeared, because I was able to drop the main story that used to rock through my head, which was that I'm not enough, for all different reasons of where I used to be in my career and what was happening and whatever. But that sense of I'm not enough, just, you know, it used to come in all the time, and it felt really real, because I'd feel bad. So I thought, well, it must be true. right? It must be true that I'm not enough. And I didn't understand that just when a thought comes in, I don't have to believe it, even if it makes me feel tired and upset. I just have to remember it's a thought, and it will pass away. And then something else will come in, and maybe it will also make me feel tired, but I can just let it go. And I'll just wait. And then maybe something will come in. And just like you this morning, I'll feel, oh yeah, that's aligned with love. I'll go there, right? I'll go in that direction of that thought, because that's all my body ever wants me to do. Stay aligned with love. That's what's healthy. That's what's healthy for me and the species and everyone around me. And we think, no, if a thought comes in, I need to pick it apart and analyze it and work out why it's coming and where it's coming from and how often is it coming in. What am I going to do with it? Am I going to take it apart? No, it's a thought. It comes and it goes. And I can have a relationship with it that's thinking it's real, and I can have a relationship with it that's like, oh yeah, that's just a piece of blip of energy passing through me. And it comes like so nicely to what you were just saying about that, you can feel the tightness of the, oh God, today I need to speak to Tania and be professional, and that comes with a feeling, and that feeling is divine. It's a guide. It's supposed to guide us, and we think it means something about what's actually happening. It's only pointing to the nature of the thought that's passing through our head at that moment, and nothing more important than that.
So how can we practice this awareness to catch the thoughts?
Yeah, it's just to remember that we think. That's all we need to do. We're humans. This is our nature. We think, and every experience that we have is going to be experienced through thought. I can't have an experience in this material world that's not through thought. So, for example, sometimes you look at the kids' things on the floor, and sometimes it's like, why am I going to pick this up? Why aren't the kids picking it up? Why? And sometimes you're like, oh yeah, socks in the laundry, yeah, that there. So it can't be the kids' things, right? The experience of the kids' stuff on the floor comes through thought and will change. It's variable, right? And it's much more about the state of mind that we're in when we see the kids' clothes on the floor than anything else. So understanding that everything we experience, from how we've slept in the night, to the kids' clothes on the floor, to a client, to the weather, it's all being experienced by us through thought. And because it's being experienced through thought, it's completely variable and fluid and open to change. And so we don't need to take any experience that we're actually having seriously. Right? Just like nothing changed in your day, right? I'm still here talking to you. You're still being professional and showing up, but your thoughts about it changed, and thus the experience changed without you actually having to do anything. It's just like, that's the nature of the design. Again, thoughts come, thoughts go, and we've always got that little guide that's going to come through feelings. If we don't listen to the feelings, it's going to turn into a symptom, and it's going to start guiding us a little bit more. Don't you know? When the migraine comes in, then you're going to know because you haven't listened to the first feeling that, oh, you're getting caught up in thinking that it's real. And actually, it's a thought. It's not real. It's a thought.
You know what? I have an idea for a new menopausal product. It's a very lovely, tasteful line of menopausal wallpaper. And in a beautiful handwritten cursive script, it's going to say, "It's just a thought." Over the whole house in it. It's just a thought.
Well, and the amazing thing is about menopause itself is that we come into menopause with so much thinking about menopause, right? This is what society's throwing at us, and the media and the doctors and everything that we're, you know, designed to malfunction, that there's something wrong with us, that our hormones are getting it wrong, and everything like this. And wow, what a surprise. Like, women are really struggling at menopause, right? And then you change, like, all you're doing is you're opening up to a different understanding. People are beginning to see, women are beginning to see, oh, maybe my body is brilliant. Like, maybe these symptoms are designed to wake me up. Maybe I'm going to shift. Maybe this is going to be the most amazing learning of, you know, enlightenment process of my life. And I'm going to be born into something so amazing I couldn't even imagine. Right? The same menopause is going on.
Yeah.
We're having a very different experience of it.
Tania, we're changing the script.
Yeah, because the symptom comes up, like I was just talking about the night sweats. You know, it was a night sweat. I can experience it in many different ways. I'm going to experience it only through thinking, because that's the only way I can. So I can obviously still get caught up in thought about whatever. I don't have time. This isn't going right. Having mornings like you've had. But then I'll remember, that's all I need to do. Oh yeah, right now I'm having that kind of thinking. My body's pointing that out very clearly by the tightness, the anxiousness, the frustration, or whatever it is that's coming along with those thoughts. And that's just to guide me. And then I can just calm down. Thoughts will pass, something else will come in.
And you can calm down. And something else comes, Thank you so much for that. Just a thought. Right, I'm going to work on that wallpaper design. Do you have, as a closing gift for our viewers or listeners, a top tip? A small actionable thing that women can take into their lives?
Yeah.
Make a difference.
I think if we can be in life with a lightness, that ties in, you know, so much of what we're saying. Like to sit in lightness. This is and trust. You know, this body of ours. This has so much more intelligence than we can ever possibly imagine and understand. And these thoughts that come in and go, and if we can just sit there in that lightness and trust, then that's going to allow things to shift. And it's like lightness about thinking, I need to take it seriously. The lightness of menopause. Yeah, it's going to change your life, but this is, you can relax into the design that's supposed to help you. And you've seen that, you know, you've seen that of, I can't possibly sleep.
Yeah.
To, maybe I can sleep 15 minutes. That's a lightness.
Yeah. Living with lightness, that is just delicious. Just delicious. Thank you.
And yours?
Mine is, it's really down to earth. It's to take a small amount of rest daily. But, and there's a but there, to commit to it. To commit every day to something doable, to a doable amount of rest. So it doesn't matter if it's even 30 seconds, if it's even one breath. And even one breath can be a challenge sometimes for us. But to find some way of making a commitment to doing something restful in your day every day. And that might be lying down, but it doesn't have to be. Going back to what I was saying earlier, it's often the way that we do things that can either be restful or be stressful. So you might be doing some sort of activity, but in a restful way. So it's to make a commitment to yourself to rest. So.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And we'll feel it immediately. Like the body will thank us.
Yeah. Well, I feel it, you know, just saying it, I'm like, oh, yes.
Yeah. Like, even like you just said, just the breath, that conscious breath.
Yeah, one conscious breath.
We stop and take a conscious breath.
And it all grows from there. Thank you, Tania.
Thank you, Kate.
I can see lots more conversations I'd like to have with you. I'm gonna write them down. We've got to talk about this stuff.
We'll let them unfold.
Yeah. Okay. Lovely
Wonderful.
to talk to you. Thank you.
And to you. Thank you.